Nowadays, we hear a lot of people say, oh, you have to follow the Quran and the Sunnah. And what they mean by Sunnah is Google whether there's a hadith or not, right? That's not Sunnah. That's a hadith. And to understand how that hadith was applied so that you understand the Sunnah is the next step. You can't just look at a hadith and say, now I know exactly what to do. Now let's understand what happens in many ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Sometimes the Prophet ﷺ is talking to all of the Muslims, which means everybody's being addressed. Sometimes a specific person comes to the Prophet ﷺ and says, I need help. Help me with this situation or that situation. What do you think is happening when people come to the Prophet ﷺ as opposed to when the Prophet is talking to everyone? Is there a difference? Because when the Prophet is talking to someone who came to him, he's first looking at who am I talking to? What is their situation? What is their background? What is it that this person needs? I'm going to give them a prescription for them. They need this. It is important for us to first understand, is the Prophet saying something, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is meant for everyone? Or was that specific to a person? Isn't that important? There's a conversation happening and the Prophet ﷺ says something. And you're like, oh, there's a hadith. He said this. This is part of a larger conversation. Was this conversation being had with? Did he have this conversation with other people? Do we know the whole picture or do we know this much? If you read that hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it might take you 3 seconds to read the entire hadith. Do you think the conversation was just 3 seconds? Could the conversation have been 5 minutes? Could it have been 10 minutes? Could it have been over multiple days? Is that possible? Is there a lot we don't know? Yeah. And this is where just Googling, oh, I found a hadith, it's in Bukhari and in Muslim, and therefore that we should all do this. Hold on a second. You're thinking that the moment you find the letter, you've got it figured out. The Muslims historically never did this. This is a new phenomenon in the last century.